Let's see. All right. Well, hello, and thank you for joining us today. I am Allison Kaczynski of the STAT-B2 Gene Foundation, where our mission is to support our STAT-B2 associated syndrome community globally. Today's topic is one that is more important now than ever before: caring for the caregiver, sensory self-care, and micro moments a day. Today's presenter, Cristol O'Loughlin of Angel Aid Care, will walk us through how to care for the caregiver with a focus on sensory self-care. Cristol is a seasoned executive and storyteller, a former UCLA instructor. She co-founded the advertising firm, The Craftsman Agency, and is humbled to advise global brands including NBA, Disney, Fox, Cisco Systems, and Google. During her tenure at IBM Life Sciences, she helped accelerate advancements in chem informatics and biotechnology. But more importantly, as founder and CEO of Angel Aid Cares, Cristol is fiercely passionate about providing social, emotional, physical, and financial relief to mothers of children with rare diseases. We also want to thank the Child Neurology Foundation for their support in funding our webinar series this year. If you have any questions as we go, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and I'll be monitoring that during the whole presentation. Cristol, thank you for being here today, and I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Well, I am honored, so honored to be here and so excited to talk about self-care. We were just saying it's such an important topic, especially as we go into the holidays, and we have more and more family pulling on us and responsibilities in addition to all the expectations of joy, right? You go into the holidays and there's all these sort of additional responsibilities and expectations piled on our shoulders. So good timing for us to talk about self-care. I'm going to go ahead and share screen and just verify that you can see the screen, Allison. Yeah? Okay, great. All right, so this presentation today is it's actually pulling from some highlights of a presentation that I did at the TED organization in Luxembourg last summer. Remember when we could travel? So no more traveling for now, but there is sort of a longer version if anyone has any interest. I go into various different details by telling stories, really stories of really, really courageous women and the families that they run and support. And what has come out of that has been an opportunity to share highlights of what I personally have found to be, successful self-care tactics, both within our community of rare mothers and rare caregivers, but also just for me personally. And I have such a great opportunity to interact with our health and wellness practitioners. So we have curated this amazing group of practitioners that specialize in various different self-care modalities, including yoga and meditation, equine therapy with horses, and psychotherapy and social therapy. And so it's through this group of experts that we bring these ideas to you today. It's not medical advice. And so I would just remind everybody in the audience to, always consult with your doctor and make sure, whether it's for yourself or anyone under your care and attention, that it's appropriate for their circumstances. Okay. All right. So here's what I thought I would do is outline an agenda. So I always like to know, especially when I'm taking time out of my busy schedule, where we're going. So I'm going to right now set a timer to keep us on track. And okay, there we go. And really in this agenda, what I want to show you is that there's 3 different areas that I thought we would focus. First is it's always personal storytelling. So I have a love story to share with you, and it starts out like any good story with some conflict and some tragedy. And what I can promise you is at the end of this presentation, I will give you that uplifting sort of Hollywood true story ending. So that's the Grin and Bear It story. And then we're going to talk about sensory self-care. And I'll take you through why we call it sensory self-care. But sensory is all about the 5 senses, right? Sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. And by aligning our self-care rituals around the senses, it makes it easier to kind of tap into some of those at different times, because we all get, it's like doing the same exercise routine. You get fatigued and you want to bring, you know, new rituals and new opportunities into your day. So I'll take you through those. And then I also do want to make sure that you know what Angel Aid is about and the community that we support, and that we have a Rare Mothers focus. It's not in exclusion of fathers or in exclusion of any other members of the household. It's just our belief that that we care for rare families through rare mothers. So 82% of the time, the caregiver is the mother. And so we focus a lot of our services on the mother experience as a caregiver. In fact, we just completed a full month of giving. Our Give campaign was in partnership with Microsoft. And through that experience, we're able to bring really rich programming to the caregiver communities in 2021. So much of our self-care workshops and events are free events. And so I encourage you to consider joining our community. And the details are there at angelaidcares.org. And if you're interested in hearing some of those true life stories of inspiration about other rare mothers, you can listen to the replay of an event that we just hosted called the Mothers of Rare Experience on YouTube. It's also on our website. And then just flagging that we have a Rare Mothers virtual retreat coming up first part of January and February. So just a couple of things about Angel Aid from a housekeeping standpoint I wanted you to be aware of. Okay, so the love story. So here we go. My parents, Richard and Phyllis Barrett, they met in high school at Western High School. He was captain of the football team and she was head drill team leader, and they fell fast in love. They were married soon after graduation and really wanted to have a basketball team of kids. So within 8 years, they had 5 children. And you can see that my oldest brother, Richard Adam, was developing normally. He was like the wonderkind, actually, really gifted mentally and physically, developing very normally. Unfortunately, my 3 middle brothers, David, Jared, and Randy, did not have the same experience. And my mother could tell that they were just not developing the same way as Richard Adam. And those signs were coming over time. So they were born looking, you know, very typical and beautiful as babies. And it was this sort of cumulative degeneration and missing milestones and that diagnostic odyssey that we all know so much about, where you sort of know instinctually something's not right, and you're going into the doctors and the doctors are saying, you know, well, we'll run a test, or in her case, you know, not everybody can be as gifted as Richard. And it wasn't until she actually had me, I was there on the scene by this point, and she went into one of the pediatrician appointments and said, why can my son not straighten his arm? Why can't David straighten his arm? And so out of that came all of the additional testing to reveal that David, Jared, and Randy had a rare disease called mucopolysaccharidosis, MPS type 2. Muco stands for mucus, poly stands for a lot, and saccharidosis stands for sugar. So the boys, my brothers, were lacking the enzyme they needed to break down certain types of glucose in their body, and it built up like a gummy substance around their joints and vital organs, and eventually they passed away in their teens at 12, 18, and 19. So you can imagine the journey for our family, and in particular for Richard and Phyllis, my parents, who, were married young, didn't have a lot of experience or access to support in the way that we do with the internet now, where we can all come together in community, over Zoom. They just didn't have those options. It was very isolating for my mother to be at home with 2 healthy children and 3 very, very sick children. And MPS just ripped our family apart. My parents divorced, and eventually David, Jared, and Randy went to live in a home where they could receive the 24-hour nursing care that they needed. But I could tell you this, we had so much joy. I still, anytime I talk about my brothers, I get very thoughtful about the really high highs, just the joyful moments that we had as a family. And, when they weren't happy, you knew it. So even though, and this about special needs children, is that if you've spent time with special needs children, I'm making an assumption that this community has experienced similar types of symptoms. It's just, when someone is happy or sad, and you can still so connect with them on just such a personal and visceral and emotional level. And so I was very close to my brothers. I fancy them in the night sky as Orion, the constellation Orion, and there's the 3 stars for the sword of Orion. So I call on them as my strength whenever I need sort of some self-care and some rejuvenation. So there's great honoring that comes in loss as well. And what happens is life tends to go on, and we all know that no matter how difficult the circumstances are, there are, this momentum called life that just keeps moving forward. And same with my experience. I went to UCLA. I had a great interest in the science behind rare disease. So I actually went to work for IBM and did all that we could, both personally and professionally, to try to improve the situation for our specific rare disease. So Angel Aid was actually started in the year 2000. And I've had this incredible opportunity to witness, $25 donations at a time, right? Pooled together. We're all hosting our fundraisers and our events and doing what we can to pool together dollars for research. And so one of our Angel Aid research grants, in partnership with the National MPS Society, went on to be a clinical trial for MPS type 2, and eventually a treatment for MPS. So it is not a cure, but young men that were passing away in their teens are now getting infusions and going off to college. And I have met them, and I've introduced my parents to them and our whole family. And it's just been such an incredible testimony to the power of the human spirit and the power of philanthropy, really. And so if you ever wonder if what you're doing makes a difference, just give it time. Just keep doing what you're doing to try to make things better at home and for others. And the rest will sort itself out. The science is catching up. The heart and the hope has always been there, right, for our community, but the science is catching up. And I really believe in my lifetime that we're going to see cures for these diseases. And I'm banking on it. I'm hoping, because my daughter is also a carrier of MPS disease. It took us quite a few pregnancies to get to a healthy child. And she's going to have her own journeys with MPS someday. And I hope that those are journeys that that are quite different from our generation and my mother's generation of experience with MPS. So I just wanted to share those kind of takeaways. We all have a story to tell, and storytelling is such a big part of what we do in rare disease, and sharing with each other. A lot of times, you know, this question comes up, this, wow, how did you do it? I mean, that must have been so difficult for you and your family. And, you know, and I've asked myself, like, how did we do it? I don't know, you know, how do we do it? Because grief and adversity, they never seem to fully go away, right? It sneaks in around the holidays a lot of times. You know, holidays are a time for reflection and looking back on family experiences of the past, and for rare families that can be really challenging, certainly for the Barrett family as well. So that question of why me comes up a lot, and I've revisited it. And I will give you what my succinct answer is, but what I just want to at least acknowledge is that it's very normal to ask that question, and it's very normal to have the full range of feelings that you have about asking that question. So, you know, why has this happened? And how do I feel about what's happening to me? And we work with caregivers and rare mothers day in and day out. And this is a question that they are often asking of themselves. And, you know, when we look sort of collectively, that question becomes really interesting in context, right? In the big picture, because it really, it's so tempting and normal, and we all focus inward. Our challenge is to focus outward, right? To be looking at that constant question of why me in the context of a bigger footprint on the planet. And that's what I think has been so amazing over the last 10 years. And I pulled statistics from Global Genes here, that, you know, we are now starting to think like a broader community. And the details are important. The details are going to are where the science and the research and the treatments and the cures are going to come from. The details for fundraising for your specific disease, those are so important. From a caregiving standpoint, there's a useful tool in looking more holistically, because even though the symptoms may be different and the details of the disease may be different, the collective experience as a caregiver is actually really similar to what other families are going through. And you can learn so much from each other, and we can learn so much by broadening our perspective and becoming part of a broader community. And that's really what Global Genes has spent the better part of, 10 years of doing, is saying, hey, wait a second, we're stronger together. We can find relief in each other. We can effectively advocate for change and funding on Capitol Hill. We can effectively federate our data in clinical trials and in scientific and research studies. And it's in that collective approach that we're likely to start finding those treatments and those cures, certainly for one specific disease, but hopefully for many others as well. And so I just, want to set that level set that we are part of this bigger community, and that's our challenge, but that's also our strength, right? And that when you look at this in the context of a caregiver, for Angel Aid in particular, looking at rare mothers, we think of, okay, 350 million families on the planet. Every one of them likely has a mother or some sort of mothering role, right? A lot of times fathers are stepping up to play a mothering role as well. So, but if you look at it sort of philosophically, okay, huge community. And let's just try to affect 1%, just 1% of the community. Let's bring relief by connecting 3.5 million rare mothers by 2025. So that's our goal. So achievable, right? 1% of a total global community. And that we can start seeing, Melinda Gates calls it that moment of lift, right? We can start uplifting rare families by calling attention to this moral imperative on the planet, that while all the scientists are doing their amazing work, and while the doctors and the nurses and the patient advocates and the healthcare industry is doing everything that they can for our families, we need to also pay attention in particular to the individuals that are caring for the patients. And these are not new concepts, right? I mean, we know that instinctually and through research, that caring for caregivers makes things better, makes the experience better for the patient in military and veteran communities, in senior and Alzheimer's and dementia care, right? So these are not new models. We're just applying them to the rare disease space. We're just saying we need to support caregivers, and here's a few ways to do that. Now, we know technology has to be behind it, right? That we've got to have these guys, mobile first experiences. And if we're going to connect people on a global basis, then we've got to have multilingual support. No family left behind, right, in this scenario. So we've got to be able to connect with people in language, in their environment, and recognizing not everybody even has a mobile phone. So how can we, do outreach one-to-one? And that's really where the pandemic has kind of, cut us all off at the knees, right? We're just like, oh my gosh, how do we reimagine all of our support services? And for Angel Aid, everything was in person. We did retreats, we did support groups, everything in person. So we've had to fast forward our strategy and really reimagine how to provide support in a virtual format. So that's what we do. We do self-care training. We've licensed the Sustainable Mom. It's a training methodology. And Dr. Laura Riordan is our guidance. She's our guide through that experience. And then we offer a whole lot of relief and reminders. Okay, here's how to find self-care. And these are very often very obvious. It's just reminding you that you need to take a few moments of every single day. And that's the number one thing we hear from caregivers and moms. I don't have time, and dads, any kind of caregiver. I don't have time for self-care. I simply don't have the time. I mean, and in many cases, it's kind of true, right? If you have a child or you have an individual in your family that's, prone to seizures or is having, symptoms that need 24/7 management, this is a real consideration. How do I find self-care? How do I find a moment for myself? And that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to keep telling you stories about courage, though, because I just think that's so important. So in our world, we have the opportunity to work with individuals, mothers in particular, that are living with courage every single day. And we talk to them. We talk to caregivers in general as well. And we actually partnered with Indiana University School of Social Work, and we asked, and these are universal truths. We asked, setting aside the science, setting aside the research and the hope for treatments and cures, what could we do to support you in your day-to-day life, right? The first pattern was connection. I'm just looking for a listening ear without judgment. Just hear me out. I don't need you to try to fix it. I don't need you to, pop in with your ideas and suggestions. I just need to get it off my chest. I just need to be heard, right? And so listening is such a good reminder. We need to be listening to each other more often, and trying not to step in and fix. The second pattern was stories. I need to hear stories that are similar to mine so that I know that I'm not crazy. Because you go in, you've got doctors saying, well, it's this or not this. You've got all sorts of authoritarian figures in our lives, at school, at work, even in the home, right? You've got hierarchies in the home. And so it's so useful to hear stories. And so I encourage you to seek out stories, whether they're from Angel Aid or from others, but keep connecting and keep Googling. The Rare channel is a great resource. These are two rare dads that started the Disorder Rare Disease Film Festival. And obviously, in-person film festivals are not the name of the game right now. So they've reimagined their offering as the Rare channel, and you can find it on, I think, Amazon Fire and YouTube and other places. So just keep looking for those stories and open your mind to stories that are more generalized to rare disease than necessarily your disease set, because there's so much connection that can come from, these collective experiences in caregiving. And then on the self-care side, we heard loud and clear, I just need a little time and inspiration to help me do things for myself. And it became clear as we first started offering our services that, not everybody can go on a 3-day retreat or even a 1-day retreat or even take an hour, right? That actually we need to address these needs in micro moments. And that's why we talk about sensory self-care in micro moments a day, because these are things that you can do to ritualize that sense of well-being in things that you're already doing. And I promise you that we're going to get to those really soon. Okay, so one of the things that we talked to our community about is, and we ask this all the time, on a scale of 1 to 10, how supported do you feel? And 1 is hardly supported at all, and 10 is fully supported, right? And so it's the caregivers that are in the 6 to 10 range that have put support structures, or naturally, instinctually, or maybe through hard work, but they have support structures in place. They have reconciled their feelings, right? And so for caregivers that are reporting like a sense of well-being in the 6 to 10 range, we're kind of a wellness company, right? We're an organization that offers, retreats and workshops and events. We try to feature a self-care tactic once a month, whether that be, throughout the month. So whether it be meditation for the full month of May and offering meditations, or yoga for a full month, or journaling as a self-care tool for a full month, and we'll bring in a practitioner and they will offer their events throughout the month. So, just know that those resources are available to you and they are free. So that's amazing, right? Because we have these awesome sponsors and donors and we're able to offer that. It's the caregivers that are in the 1 to 5 range. I don't feel supported, or 1, I hardly supported at all, right? That's more crisis management. That is, I'm not doing well. I recognize that I'm doing it. I'm waking up every day and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, hopefully. But I'm not doing, thank you for asking, I'm not doing well. I need some help. I need some support. And so in that respect, we're more of a crisis support center, right? So we were able this summer, thanks to a partnership with Microsoft, to actually put up a resources section on our website with some crisis support lines. And so I want to just bring this to your attention so that if you or anybody needs access to support, these are available, and they're not exclusive to Angel Aid. These are available to any rare disease community, and the 24/7 crisis text line is just available generally, right? So any of you could reach out, click through to the rare disease helplines. There's 35 800 numbers around the world, and the resources are in all different languages. So that's really important to know. And then the 800 number for suicide prevention. Hopefully you don't need to access these resources, but if you do, or someone you know really needs it, it's just really good to know where to redirect, yourself or someone that needs that support. And especially where we're all sequestered at home, right? I mean, this is the trifecta for rare families. We've already been sheltering at home. We've already been homeschooling. We've already been, dealing with medical uncertainty. So welcome to our world, right? In fact, we have a series on YouTube called Welcome to Our World, where I interview rare moms so that so we can bring those stories to life, because it's such an opportunity, I think, for all of us in the rare community to bridge what is it like for you with people that don't have children or families or are not managing symptoms of rare disease. Because we're all in this collective sort of traumatic experience of being at home and sequestered at home and losing things that we took for granted, right? The ability to do certain things. And that's such a great bridge to now you kind of have a little bit of a peek into what my life is like, right? So that's there. Okay, so crisis text line, 800 numbers, those are available. And those are the ultimate act of self-care, right? Is reaching out for help and saying, I need help. And so we want you to know that there's help available. Okay, I promised you a answer to that question of why me. And again, this is based on my lifetime of experience, which I'm coming up on my 50th birthday next year. So 50 years of experience. And this is what I've come up with. Suffering sows the seeds of empathy. No matter what your experience is, someone is suffering alongside you, or perhaps worse, not worse. There's no range or hierarchy to suffering. It's simply the point that if you can accept this experience has happened so that you can be the guide for the next person to go through the experience, so that you can bring relief to someone that is suffering alongside, it gives a sense of purpose. It truly gives a sense of purpose in the pain. It's really hard to get there, especially when you're suffering. It's hard to get there. Wait, I'm supposed to think outside my own body and my own mind and my own heart. But I can assure you that when you do that, you find a gentle relief, sometimes a radical relief, but there is a gentle sense of goodness knowing that you've helped ease someone else's pain and someone else's journey. That's my offering. That's my belief. I'm testing that out every day, living a life of service, and recognizing that empathy, that ability to empathize, that's what makes us human. That's what differentiates us from the animal kingdom, right? We are there to ease each other's experiences. And we know this because whenever you see somebody in pain or hurting or crying, it triggers you, right? It's your heart stands up and says, oh my gosh, my heart goes out to that person, right? Whether or not we choose to vocalize that or act upon it is a whole different question. But that natural tendency really is within all of us, that tendency towards love, that tendency towards empathy. And so what I am here to offer you today is that you are worthy of the same love and care that you're giving to others. And that's what we do, right? We give. We give and we give and we give. We give to our children, our spouses, our friends, our family, our parents, our coworkers, our pets, like all the responsibilities we have. We just give and give and give. And so often we find ourselves at the bottom of the list. We don't get the walk that we really know we need all day, right? And this is simple to fix. This is an acknowledgement that you are worthy of the same love, and that you can give more if you take care of yourself. So it's actually an act of giving to take the time to be there for yourself, to take the moments of rituals, and again, micro moments of rituals, and incorporate them into your life. So you are worthy of that same love and energy. You've heard the classic, put your oxygen mask on the plane before you help others. And it's true. You've got to do this. Otherwise, we have a tendency to run ourselves into the ground. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But what I want to do just right now, because there's always time for self-care, and I'd like to demonstrate that to you, is I'd like us to just take a few minutes to breathe. So I'm going to ask you to set down anything you have in your hands. Put your feet flat on the ground. And if you'd like to, you can close your eyes. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths together. Inhale. And exhale. All the way into your belly. Inhale. And exhale. And a deep inhale. And a deep exhale. You can open your eyes. Thank you for trusting me. Notice your body kind of feels perhaps a little bit tingly, or your heartbeat may have slowed. Your voice drops an octave. Really, this is just an activation through 3 simple breaths in less than 20 seconds of calming your parasympathetic nervous system, telling your body everything's okay. And that tool is available to you any time of day or night. If you can't sleep, 3 deep breaths. If you're nervous before a meeting or an appointment, 3 deep breaths, right? Before you transition into making dinner, and interacting with the family. So all of those are available to you and will bring out your best self as you're now engaging with whoever it is. Okay. So let's talk about the left brain side of this. We just did sort of the meditation yoga approach, the body breathing. Now let's talk about more the intellectual side of resilience, of finding self-care tactics. And sometimes I try to approach this from different angles because not everybody looks at things the same way. Just like some of us are, we learn more by listening, and some of us learn more by doing and touching. Others of us, if we could just read it and see it. So I'm trying to hit on all of your different senses. The hard one to hit on is smell. and taste through Zoom. So, but we'll touch on those. Okay, so in terms of rare resilience, what I talk about is our experience being quite different than what is commonly talked about as PTSD. So in the mental health world, there's a lot of talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. How do we shore up someone that's gone through a traumatic experience? But that's not really our experience, is it? We're sort of in this chronic stress experience that doesn't let up. It's constant, it's every day. And so in that context, how do we find relief? How do we find those moments? And the answer is, it's not necessarily in this sort of, happening and now you relearn things. It's in habitual behavior and ritualized behavior that gets incorporated into your day-to-day experience. In the Barrett family, in so many ways, we're on the other side of loss, right? We've lost our loved ones, and we've had decades to reconcile with the grief, but it sneaks up. It sneaks up in really unexpected ways. And when it does, and I have a lot of conversations with my mother about this, when it does, what helps is to fall back on the rituals that you know are the healthy habits, right? The healthy rituals that are going to get you to that sort of next moment. And literally, it could be the next moment, right? It's going to get you through some sort of symptom experience, or through a doctor's appointment, or through a day, or through a week or a month, whatever it is. But sometimes it comes down to just that next moment. And there's a woman named Alyssa Epple. Dr. Epple is part of our Angel Aid Health and Wellness Practitioner Network. And so I get to interact with her regularly, which is amazing. And she co-authored a book called The Telomere Effect. So here's the left brain side of this. They do research and studies on stress. And what the research shows, and this is Nobel Prize winning research, so it's validated, it's been through all the rigor. What the research shows is that stress has a cellular effect on your body. That at the end of your cells, those DNA strands, those connectors between energetic messages are these things called telomeres. And they've actually been able to take these microscopes and map them and inject them with these neurological glowing substances so that they can see the telomeres at the end. And so all of us have telomeres at the end of our cells. And within these telomeres is kind of the length of our life. There's a story there. And that your telomeres get frazzled, okay? So it helps to think of them as like living, breathing things. They get frazzled from stress, and chronic stress in particular. And when your telomeres stop working, stop relaying those energetic messages throughout your body, that is the measurement of the end of your life, okay? And so truly, stress shortens your life. And we know that, and we've mapped it, and we've measured it. Here's the good news, because I don't want to be full of all this bad news. The good news is you can repair your telomeres. You can repair your telomeres through ritualized daily habits, through states of mind, through mindfulness, and restorative behaviors. 1 extra hour of sleep at night makes a huge difference cumulatively in your lifetime. Physical activity. Even if you don't have 2 hours, take 20 minutes and do a walk around the property, or a walk around the house, or walk down to the grocery store. Physical activity repairs your telomeres. connecting with other people, laughing. You know how you feel when you're like in a room with friends and, you know, having a sip of wine, or, you know, collectively doing, you know, some sort of exercise or yoga experience, you know, that connectiveness. We're social creatures. We're not meant to be isolated. That connectedness repairs your telomeres. It's going to extend your life. And having a sense of purpose. So we talked about purpose in the pain. A practice of gratitude helps find purpose in the pain. Finding that one thing to be thankful for each day, even if it's, I got up out of bed today. Yay me, right? Or I did take, you know, an extra 5 minutes to meditate in the shower today. Because that's about the only way you can get your alone time, right? Is to lock the door, take a shower. So those learnings and those practices have been scientifically proven to lengthen your life, increase your sense of well-being. And gratitude can be expressed in so many different ways, right? This can be expressed through conversation. It can be expressed through journaling each day. It can be expressed through, you know, making lists and putting them up around, you know, sticky notes around the house. You know, just lighting a candle is my ritual. When I wake up in the morning and I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, I light a candle and I just start thinking about all the things that I'm grateful for. And some days it's really hard. There aren't a lot of things. And some other days it just really, really flows. But that practice of gratitude is scientifically proven to be beneficial to you in your sense of well-being. Okay, so what are some other ways? How else can we incorporate self-care into our day? And this concept of sensory self-care in micro moments a day is something that that I've been honing over time, and I'm so happy to share with you and honored to share with you. And it comes out of practices that we actually utilize within our community. So as I mentioned, we offer wellness programming. That's what Angel Aid is all about, is bringing relief through shared, ritualized self-care workshops and events, and opportunities to connect with each other. And then we also have a gifting program. So we like to make sure that our caregivers know that they are not alone and that they're cared for. So we periodically throughout the year, we send out gift packages. So if you're interested in that, just come to raremothers.org and sign up, just join our community, and then you'll kind of get into that flow. And who doesn't want a gift now and then? So I just thought I would mention it. But here's what we talk about a lot in terms of self-care. So the 5 senses are a great way to reframe things that you're already doing every day. And so think about what your top most dominant sense is. Do you tend towards taste? Is food really important, and the texture and the taste of the food and drinks really important to you? Or are you super tactile and need to have things that are soft, you know, nearby as you're calming? Do you use, you know, sound and auditory stimulation or calm? And what about your sense of smell? And then your sense of sight, right? So thinking about your senses is a great reset on, okay, I got to think of something. I'm all out of ideas. I can't think of what I can do for myself today, but I can think of one of the 5 senses, and then let me see if I can incorporate something into the activity of my day. So, so touch. I'm just going to give you some examples. These are mine. These are not, you know, endorsed by Angel Aid. These are not products that we get kickbacks on or anything like that. It's very personal to me as a human being. And I thought that I would share them with you. So touch. So my ritual used to be a transition that wasn't great for me. I'm actually a breast cancer survivor. And so the ritual I used to have to transition between daytime working activity and nighttime mom, join at the dinner table, be more attentive in the evenings activity, was alcohol. It was drinking. And, my go-to was Budweiser. And sometimes I would have 2 or 3. And I realized, okay, wait a second, like not the best for me, the best self-care ritual. If you look at it over 20, 30, 40 years, I've got to reframe that ritual. What can I reframe it into? So I know that I'm a very tactile person. Everything I have always is super soft around me. And so someone had sent me this robe, this super, super soft robe. And basically the ritual now is, okay, time to transition from daytime activities into evening activities. I'm going to go shed my work clothes and put on my super soft robe, right? And that's also a visual signal for the family, like mom's done with work and here she is, right? Ready to show up full time. Doesn't work every day. There's always things that come up, and it doesn't have to be a robe or something super soft. It could be something empowering. It could be a Green Bay Packers sweatshirt or, whatever the case may be. But just an offering that there may be something that you could do to reframe a ritual with something that's touch oriented. So on the taste side, so many of us have warm drinks as a ritual in the morning, whether it's coffee or decaf or tea. And maybe it's not in the morning, maybe it's in the afternoon. But think about what you're putting in your body, because that can be a really awesome moment to reassess, okay, where am I sourcing my coffee beans? And maybe it's not so important to think about what you're putting in your body, but where are these coming from? So maybe you're sourcing coffee beans from, a woman-owned coffee beanery in South America, and you're going to feel good every time you take that sip of coffee because you've supported, this organic farm, and that gives you this sense of well-being, right? So there's a lot of different ways to use taste as a ritual. This is an example of a river tea. Turquoise river tea is something that we ship as part of our Angel Aid wellness kits, and it smells divine. I know the woman who has the farm in Idaho that grows the flowers and grows these products, and they hand dry them in the sun and put them into into these beautiful packages and ship them off. So I can only have 2 cups of coffee. If I go to 3 and 4, I start getting shaky. So it's nice to have a backup and know that it's good for you at the same time. So that's an idea. Sensory self-care around sound. So certainly music, right? I mean, music is just such an incredible tool. But we're finding these other tools are also really incredibly helpful. Meditations, Audible, books on tape, right? Insight Timer is the most downloaded meditation app on the planet. Headspace is another amazing meditation app. One of our health and wellness practitioners, Padma Gordon, has all of these customized meditations for rare families inside our community. So if you don't want to download an app, you can still go to her website, or you can come into our community and download some of those meditations. They're also on our YouTube channel. So I just bring that up because I think there's a lot of ways to find peace and nurturing, either through background music or through layering on self-care tactics like a walk and a book on tape. So don't forget your sound, your sense of sound. Okay, sense of smell. So so many ways, so many smells, and they're not even in the house yet, but they're just impacting because they're coming from the holidays, right? And we know that that's cookies baking in the oven, and pine needles, and muddled apple juice and, mulled wines and just things like that. There's so many wonderful smells, potentially coming our way. And essential oils can be a really amazing tool. In fact, I've got a rare mom that just swears by her aromatherapy diffuser, and that 3 o'clock each day, which is always a really difficult time of day to get through with her 16-year-old son, she chooses a different essential oil to kind of infuse through the house, and can see the net effects on the behavior, not just of her son, but herself and the rest of the family as well. So, and you don't have to buy essential oils. You can just get like a don't forget things that are commonly available, like an orange. You're peeling an orange, just take, that orange peel and twist it and get the oils out of that, and put that, rub that on your wrist, take a sniff of that, and you're just like, okay, Calgon, take me away, right? That's a beautiful opportunity. And then sight. So I've got Wonder Woman here because she's all about the visuals, right? And when I need some empowerment, a lot of times I'll put on my gold bracelets on either side and just try to channel Wonder Woman in that respect. Visual reminders of strength and grace and empathy and love can be such important tools, because you see them, if you're wearing them, you see them on yourself as you're passing by a mirror, right? And it reminds you, okay, self-care, take care of myself. Collective Hearts is one of our partners in this area. Okay, so here's one thing I want to say as we start wrapping up here. Empathy starts with you, and you might have to get kind of radical about your self-care. Your family is so used to you being in certain routines that they aren't comfortable, even if it's a good, positive thing, and they know it's good for you and they know it's good for the family. Not comfortable, not used to you locking the door so that you can light a candle in the bath, or taking that extra 20 or 30 minutes to go on a little longer excursion. So you're going to have to be kind of radical about your self-care in the beginning. And I'm here to tell you that's okay. Do that. That's part of the process, right? Is incorporating these rituals, but also protecting them. And that's important. Okay, so I promised you a love story. Remember that couple, my parents, Richard and Phyllis Barrett. They had a very difficult life for many years, losing 3 of their 5 children. They each married, short-term marriages, divorced. They each married again, long-term marriages, and widowed within a year of each other, the same year that our daughter Chloe was born. And so what has happened in the Barrett family has been this just incredible full circle of love and empathy and forgiveness. And my parents, that were apart for 35 years, are actually back together now. So they have been grandma and grandpa to Chloe since she was born, so for 13 years now. And I feel so blessed to have witnessed the fortitude that they've lived through, and the empathy and the love and the forgiveness that they find in each other. They're very active in the rare community. You can hear all about that story on the TED Talk if you'd like to, but really wanted to give Allison and anybody that has joined today an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have based on what was presented today.
Crystal, this is wonderful information. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to enter them in the chat. I'm monitoring that. I'm happy to ask the questions. There's so much information. I took pages of notes, just so much I needed to remind myself. And I love the simple ways, especially now that we're all home 24/7. It's so hard to transition from the work to the evening. And like you said, just whether it's a nice robe or your favorite sweatshirt, something to signal, I'm I'm done working for today, and I can be mom, and you've got my attention. But and such easy things that I think I even have a hard time with. If you're out running an errand, spend an extra 10 minutes or 20 minutes in the car and listen to your favorite radio station, right? I never get to
Right.
listen to the radio in the car. We have the DVD player, so it's always cartoons playing. So, and I love your story. It's not the first time that I've personally have heard it. But every time I do hear it, I love how you were able to share your story, and then how your family has kind of weathered the storm, if you will, and come back together. So it's a beautiful love story.
Good.
Well,
Good.
I'm not seeing any questions being asked. I marked so many wonderful resources to be able to share back out with our community. I'll follow up with you to make sure I have everything. Such a wealth of information that Angel Aid provides and to the community. I know I've taken part in some of the programming that Angel Aid offers, and I'm excited to invite more of our Step B2 community to get involved more with you guys. It's an amazing resource. So thank you for all that you and Angel Aid does for the rare disease community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, like I said, I'm very honored to get the opportunity to talk to your community and learn, and hopefully connect, make some connections that we're all sort of in this experience together, and that you are not alone. There are so many open hearts available to you. So I just leave you with that reminder that you're worthy of the love that you give to others as you go into the holiday. So, do something for yourself.
It is. It's so important in this time of year. I mean, after everything that 2020 has brought to us, going in the holidays, it's so much more important. And I hope that everybody who has joined this webinar, whether it's live or recorded, will take away something to help them get through the holidays. We're getting wonderful comments, Crystal, for everything you've done, and thanking you for all your presentations.
Good. That's great. Okay, I'll keep you in my heart. I'll keep the community in my thoughts as I light the candle every morning. Okay. So,
Thank you.
thank you.